So, welcome, Laurie, onto the show. And for this coaching session, I'm very excited to work together and see if we can move you through some piece that may be holding you back in your speaking confidence.
I would love that. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. So, we spoke a little bit ahead of time, and you sent me a few notes about what's going on. And what I recall is that you want to feel more comfortable speaking in person.
Hmm.
And also, like, going live, perhaps, going
Yes,
yes, yes. So, otherwise, I mean, you're fine with recordings, you have your own podcast,
I
a
do. Yeah,
and you probably do some other teaching on video too, is that correct?
that is correct.
Yeah, yeah. And I say this because I think it's really important for people to understand that for most of us, well, there are places where we do feel comfortable speaking, and there are places that we don't.
Hmm.
And that just is, because of our experiences through life and how we've been conditioned and lots of different factors. And
Right.
that's very, very common. Sometimes there's someone who feels afraid of all of it, but a lot of times, people can feel really comfortable on stage, but they're not comfortable on camera. They're comfortable on camera and not on stage, and all of those variations. So that's very common. And if that's you listening to this, know that that's just how it rolls. And that's why we're here, so that we can feel more comfortable speaking in all of our limelight moments.
Awesome. I'm excited to learn.
Yes, yes, yes. So, tell me a little bit about, like, what are you experiencing when you get, when you go to speak in person, or when you think or have gone live?
Um, I just get extra nervous if it's not pre-recorded. Like, what if I say something stupid and I can't fix it? I think that's part of it.
Hmm. Yeah. So you that's gonna be a really important strategy to have, and how to handle making those kinds of mistakes.
Hmm.
So you're also do you experience any kind of physical symptoms?
I might get a little sweaty.
Mhm.
Um, if I'm for whatever reason, sometimes you get extra nervous. Maybe it's hormonal too. You never know what time of the month you might be speaking. So, I would say maybe my throat gets a little bit tight as well, or maybe you feel a little woozy.
Mhm. Okay. And, what about, like, are you aware of thoughts that go on in your head while you're, beforehand, or when you start to feel this bit of nervousness?
Yeah, like what if nobody resonates with what I say? Um, if I make a mistake, am I going to be boring? Those types of things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so what kind of speaking experience have you had already? Like, being in front of a group?
Well, I've done numerous, I gosh, I don't know how many live events, just, workshops, those type of things. I've run several retreats where I spoke live. I did a lot of singing and stuff growing up. So, those were live. And I think that's part of it. There's a few really bad experiences during that time. Um, so, yeah, at church, giving a message or, leading worship team, those
Mhm.
kind of things. Yeah.
Mhm. So when you do your live retreats, are you comfortable in those spaces?
Um, I would say probably about 70% comfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah, not 100%.
Mhm.
I thrive in that because I thrive on that relationship, which is
Yes.
good. But when I'm giving a message, I want to make sure that everything is very clear and I'm
Mhm.
not overwhelming people and that, it's not boring. And so all those thoughts, you're trying to read the crowd and I think I'm believing lies in my own head for sure. Like, oh, nobody's really understanding any of this and they're going to leave and probably never come back.
So I guess my first question is, has anyone ever said any of those things to you?
um, no, not
Mhm.
that I can think of. I mean, maybe when I first started, some very honest friends would be like, these are things you could improve on, but it wasn't a negative experience,
Mhm.
when somebody has said something.
Mhm. And, like, what was your school experience like? Where were you, like, as a student in your own.
I was a very good student, um, very nervous about doing speech and debate and those kind of things. I'm more of an introvert, so that was hard for me during those years. And so, yeah, very terrified. I would shake during those times. I would shake, I would sweat. You know, it was
And
pretty intense.
yeah, so what do you think that was about? You were graded, I presume?
So I think it's performance based, what if kids laughed? I was always the kind of the odd kid out anyway. Like I didn't get really bullied. I mean, there's, always going to be a little bit of that, but um my parents were very strict. And so, I always had to wear a specific kind of clothes and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere and, do a lot of things that the other kids were. So I always felt like I needed to prove things, I think. Like I'm still as good as everybody else, maybe.
Mhm. And so did you have a feeling of being on the outside?
I did, yeah.
Mhm. I bring that up because I feel like I've learned that when we feel like we don't quite fit in, we're not like part of the cool clique on the
Mhm.
inside. In fact, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who felt like they
I know
were.
even the cool kids are like, "I don't think I'm very cool."
That we do have those questions and beliefs about ourselves. Am I boring? Are people
Mhm.
gonna be interested in me? Are people gonna
Yeah,
like me? All of these things kind of come up in our minds, and it's almost as if we grow up, but we don't grow out of those
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does
That
make sense, yes.
Mhm. Yeah. And the other piece the reason why I asked about your educational kind of ranking
Mhm.
is that I feel like that people, who have I don't think that this is only for people who are at the top of their class, but I do know it does happen to people at the top of the class, that we hold ourselves to a very high standard,
Right.
and that if we feel like we're not reaching that top grade, it feels like we've kind of not done well.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
And even though we don't have someone on the outside who's grading us, we kind of taken that on ourselves. We kind of
Mhm.
have our self-evaluation, and we can often be harsher on ourselves well, than we need to be, and also that is useful because when we are speaking, we need to be it does take something to stand up in front of people. It does take something to put yourself out there. It is vulnerable. And so we need all of ourselves to be on the same side, kind of rooting for us. So
Mhm.
if we have a part of a voice in our heads that is saying, "Mm, that wasn't very good," or, "You could do a lot better than that." Even though it seems mild, it seems, like, constructive. If I
Mhm.
said to you, "Laura, you could do better than that," all of a sudden it's like, "Ugh, I didn't do very well."
Right.
There is a sense of discouragement in that. So, we need to be highly nuanced in our self-support, that we need to make sure that we are giving ourselves the encouragement, the advocacy, the positive reinforcement of what we really think we're doing really well, and to just bolster ourselves as well as we can, because truthfully, I think school does a really poor job of that, because what
Mhm.
they're bolstering us in is how to not make mistakes, and praising us for making the fewest mistakes, which I think is very short-sighted, because
Very.
in real life, we have to make I mean, we know on an intellectual level that we learn from mistakes, but in school, you get demoted for mistakes, right?
Right. Right. Yes.
So we need to kind of like we need to kind of graduate ourselves from the rules of school and create
Right?
our own rules.
Right, and we've
So
talked about that before, like, even in the whole unschooling, homeschooling world, unlearning so many different things, but it's interesting how ingrained those things can be.
Absolutely, which is maybe I mean, I know that you've done unschooling as I have as myself, and
Mhm.
that was one of the reasons because I didn't want to subject my daughter to the pressure of having to be right all the
Right.
time.
Mhm.
And that ties back in with your idea of, like, being afraid of not being right.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, it does.
And that it's okay that we're not right. Even if someone says, "You know, Lori, I don't know if I agree with you." You can have space to embrace that.
Yes.
And I think that's when I said, well, there are strategies for this. There are
Mhm.
strategies for when we make mistakes. You brought up saying the wrong thing. If someone challenges you on that, you can say, you know, I'm really glad you brought that up. And I think this is something we need to think about. Or we should do this. This invites more research.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good.
That we don't have to feel like, "Oh, holy smokes, you know, I made a mistake. Someone found me out." We can be fine about mistakes. We can say, uh you can even say, "You know what? I said something before, and I wanna clarify that."
Mhm. No, that's good too.
So, whenever for whatever mistake we are afraid we might make, there are strategies for maintain a sense of poise and equanimity in the face of mistakes. In fact, when we own up to the mistakes and when we make space for them and allow ourselves to receive other people's, you know, opinion, and that doesn't mean we have to agree with them, but we can make space for that,
Mhm.
that it shows us to be more emotionally intelligent and
Mm,
more of a leader.
that is true. That emotional intelligence is key, isn't it?
It is. It
Mhm.
is. So I think that these are things that you're going to, be able to as you move into, like, what are the mistakes that I think I might make, that can become your strategy, like, what mistakes am I concerned about making on this live? What mistakes am I concerned about when I speak to an audience?
Mhm.
Are there others that come up for you?
Um, I think a lot of it may have to do with like imposter syndrome. Like, do I really have something new to say? You know, so and so says this all the time, and they probably say it much better than myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that comes out a lot of being on the outside and feeling
Mm.
like, "Oh, those people on the inside, they're more popular, people like listening to them." The truth of the matter is it doesn't like, think about how many people are out there doing fitness.
Mm,
It's not like we need to just elect one person to teach fitness
right.
because everyone's gonna come at it a little bit differently, number 1, and number 2, not every one person can reach every single person who needs fitness.
Right. And somehow we think we can, or we think they are in our brain, or in my brain anyway.
That's right. So that comes back to how are you advocating for yourself and
Right.
supporting yourself? My approach is worthy. My approach deserves to be heard. I'm adding my my piece to the general conversation of this world.
Mhm.
So you're in wellness, and
Yeah.
do you wanna just describe for a second for the audience to hear what you do?
Sure. I'm a nutritional therapist, and I mainly work with women who have stress and anxiety, depression, other mood issues, hormone issues, those kind of things. And we work with amino acid therapy to balance the brain so that everything below the neck is easier to deal with.
Okay, so now when I listen to that, I think that's pretty unique.
Okay.
Now, of course, there's probably other people who are in that kind of field and offer the
Mhm.
same kind of things, but not that many. I mean,
Not
it's
that many. You are
not
correct.
that many. I mean,
Mhm.
this like the first that I'm hearing it in this way. So I would
Mhm.
say you are bringing something unique to the table and that you can own that.
Thank
You
you.
have permission to own that.
Thank you.
And you also have permission to remind yourself that you can own that.
That's good. Yes. All right. I own that.
Okay, there you go. So the next thing I wanna do is address your singing performing, because when we have performances in the past, whether they are speaking experiences or any kind of performing, That didn't go so well. That also sits inside us with a feeling of dread
Mhm.
of something like that happening again. And even though you may not be doing that kind of performing right now, it still is similar enough that it's going to potentially impact. And I think these are the kinds of things when I help people clear the fear, these are the kinds of experiences that we look for. What has happened in the past that made you perhaps feel like you don't have what it takes.
Mhm.
And so speaking, performing experiences are one of them. Since you brought it up, I think it's worthy of looking at.
Yeah, no, I think so too, because I would love to. Well, my husband, my son is a very amazing musician, and he's always wanted me to sing with him, and I've only done it, I think, twice. And I always seem to get out of it. So I would love to do that with him.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So why don't you describe to me what happened?
Oh, way back when?
Way back when?
Way back when. Well, there were several times in church where, it's singing a solo or whatever, and the song meant so much to me that I couldn't not cry. And so then when you're crying, you can't sing. Um, and so I just felt really embarrassed, by that I couldn't get my composure together, all those kind of things. I had a couple times where, all of a sudden your voice just doesn't work. One time I was sick in a contest and I had this really great song that I was doing, and I knew that I was going to do well, but then I kind of got sick the day before, but we tried to do it anyway and it didn't go well. So several instances.
What happened? Describe what happened.
Well, my voice just, couldn't hit the notes. I couldn't sing the way that I wanted to sing. It was my senior year. I've been an all-state, those kind of things. So the expectation was that this would just be an amazing performance. And honestly, the room was packed with kids who wanted to come hear the solo. And it was it was very disappointing, Linda, because it just wasn't, you know, clearly not a stellar performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had another instance when in college, and I didn't major in music, but I wanted to be in like the women's choir and a few other things just because I love singing and I love music. And my bulimia was really bad at the time. And until I went to do a tryout, I didn't realize how much it had affected my voice. And that tryout didn't go well. And I didn't even make like the basic college choir because my voice just didn't sound well at all. And that was just kind of humiliating to me because I had kind of wrapped my identity, in my music ability and stuff a little bit. And then I was also embarrassed and I felt really bad. Like I'm destroying myself at the same time. So, my bulimia was really bad at the time.
Okay. So we've got three experiences there.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay, so I'm gonna do something called EFT. Have you ever done emotional freedom technique
Yeah,
before?
it's been a bit, but yes, I have.
Okay, so we're gonna start with kind of like summarizing it. We're gonna hit on the side of the hand, and you're gonna repeat words after me. And if
Okay.
I say anything, Lori, that doesn't feel like it doesn't resonate true to you, feel free to just change the language.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I might even stop and say, does that seem right? Did that
Okay.
happen?" Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even though I had these singing experiences that didn't go well,
Even though I had these singing experiences that didn't go well,
and I felt mortified and ashamed,
and I felt mortified and ashamed,
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Even though my identity was really connected with my singing,
Even though my identity was really connected with my singing,
and I had these unfortunate experiences,
and I had these unfortunate experiences,
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Even though I would love to sing with my son,
Even though I would love to sing with my son,
but there's a part of me that dreads doing that,
there's a part of me that dreads doing that.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
I love and accept myself just as I am.
Okay, I'm going to just want to review what we said. Okay, it was the church, it was the um what was it, Allstate, and the
Mhm.
college. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take off my glasses, and then I won't be able to read, but it'll be easier. Okay, we're gonna start tapping on the eyebrow. That church experience. You can repeat after me.
Oh, that church experience.
This music was so moving.
This music was so moving.
When I was singing, it brought tears to my eyes,
When I was singing, it brought tears to my eyes,
and that was the end of it.
and that was the end of it.
Jen, I can't sing if I'm crying.
I can't sing if I'm crying.
It's a total lost cause
It's a total lost cause.
on the collarbone, and then
Okay.
under the arm on the ribs. So I couldn't keep my composure
I couldn't keep my composure,
above the head, and I felt embarrassed,
and I felt embarrassed,
and I felt so disappointed
and I felt so disappointed
because I loved this music,
because I love this music,
and my heart was so open under the eye.
and my heart was so open,
But my throat completely closed
but my throat completely closed.
because when I cry, it's ugly cry.
Because when I cry, it's ugly cry.
And I never trained in how to sing and cry at the same time
I didn't train and sing to cry at the same time.
under the arm. I'm sure some people can do it, but I can't.
I'm sure some people can do it, but I can't.
And I still can't.
And I still can't.
And so that felt really bad.
And so that felt really bad.
The temple, and I never really got over it.
I never really got over it.
Under the eye, carried the shame
I carried the shame
and my disappointment.
and my disappointment.
I wish I could just let it go
I wish I could just let it go
because it was such a long time ago
because it was such a long time ago.
under the arm. And in the big scheme of things, it didn't impact my life all that much,
And in the big scheme of things, it didn't impact my life all that much,
although it felt like a really important moment.
although it felt like a very important moment.
And I've always carried it around with me
And I've always carried it around with me
as a kind of remorse
as a kind of remorse
and holding on to like the ickiness of the feeling.
and holding on to the ickiness of the feeling.
Yeah. And then there was Allstate.
And then there was the Allstate.
And I thought this is going to be great.
I thought this was going to be great. Yeah.
I was at the top of my game.
I was at the top of my game.
I had no reservations at all.
I had no reservations at all.
I felt ready to go.
I felt ready to go.
And so many people came to hear these solos.
And so many people came to hear the solo.
And unfortunately, I fell under the weather.
And unfortunately, I fell under the weather.
And I was a little bit sick.
And I was a little bit sick.
And I guess I didn't realize how sick I was.
I didn't realize how sick I was.
And it really affected my voice.
And it affected my voice.
And I didn't realize I might need to do something special
I didn't realize I might need to do something special
under the arm because nobody ever trained me what to do if I'm sick.
Nobody trained me what to do if I'm sick.
So when I opened my mouth, it did not come out well.
So when I opened my mouth, it did not come out well.
And I was just mortified on stage.
And I was mortified.
I felt so embarrassed.
I felt very embarrassed.
I just wanted to kind of crawl inside a hole.
I wanted to crawl inside a hole.
Is that how you felt?
Yeah, pretty much.
What else did you feel under the arm?
I cried because I always cry. I cried.
I cried. Did you cry on stage?
Yeah, I started to cry on stage. Yeah.
I even started to cry on
I
stage,
started to cry on stage,
which of course made it worse
which of course made it worse
because we already know I can't cry and sing.
because we already know I can't cry and sing.
So here it was crying and being sick.
Crying and being sick.
It felt like a double whammy.
It did feel like a double whammy.
And it wasn't just at church. It was like this big auditorium.
It wasn't at church. It was the auditorium at school.
And I felt what an embarrassing moment.
And I felt very embarrassed at the moment
And in front of all my friends and schoolmates.
in front of all my friends and schoolmates.
That was a big blow.
That was a big blow.
And then this other blow
And then this other blow
in college,
in college,
trying out for the was it a choir or
It was a
singing group
choir. Yeah.
for
Mhm.
the choir, and I didn't even make it.
I didn't even make it.
I couldn't believe I didn't make it.
I couldn't believe I didn't make it.
I've sung all my life.
I've sung all my life.
I've always felt really good at it,
I felt good at it.
and all of a sudden, I didn't pass muster.
And all of a sudden, I didn't pass muster.
I felt really discouraged,
I felt very discouraged.
and this really kind of put the nail in the coffin of my singing confidence,
It did put the nail in the coffin on my singing confidence.
and I just kind of put it aside
And I put it aside
because I felt like these things meant that I couldn't sing.
I felt these things meant I really couldn't sing,
Or at least I couldn't sing in public.
or I couldn't sing in public.
It's really sad
It's really sad
that I've given up my singing in this way
that I've given up my singing in this way
because I feel like I still love to sing,
because I feel like I still love to sing
and I would love to still sing.
and I would love to still sing.
I would love to feel excited to sing with my son
I would love to feel excited to sing with my son
with no reservations.
with no reservations.
But this stuff is kind of in the way.
But this stuff is kind of in the way.
I feel like I need to find a way to let go,
I feel I need to find a way to let go,
to resolve them and clear them away.
to resolve them and clear them away.
I'm not sure what that will mean.
I'm not sure what that will mean.
Maybe I need to forgive myself.
Maybe I need to forgive myself.
I need to forgive myself for having big emotions
I need to forgive myself for having big emotions
and for letting my emotions show.
and for letting my emotions show.
It's possible that people in the church, it opened their heart.
It's possible the people in the church had opened their heart.
Maybe they thought, wow, this is really touching.
Maybe they thought, wow, this is touching.
But for me, it just felt like mortification.
For me, I was mortified.
But maybe I misinterpreted it.
Maybe I misinterpreted it.
Maybe it wasn't as big a deal for other people as it was for me.
Maybe it wasn't as big a deal for other people as it was for me.
Maybe they thought, oh, I feel for Laurie,
Maybe they thought, oh, I feel for Laurie.
and I know she's a wonderful singer still,
And I know she's a wonderful singer still.
and she just got emotional.
And she just got emotional.
And I hope she'll sing again.
And I hope she'll sing again.
But I didn't necessarily give them the chance to hear me.
But I didn't give them much chance to hear me.
Did you sang again, I presume?
I did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you feel different after? Did you feel like you were able to move on from it?
I was always there. Like, ooh, what if that happens again?
Yeah. So I never really fully moved on from it.
I never fully moved on from it.
I always thought that, oh, what if it happens again?
I always thought, what if it happens again?
And nobody ever came to me and said, hey, this is what you can do if that happens.
And nobody ever came and said, hey, you can do this if this happens.
And it never occurred to me that there's something you could do.
Never occurred to me there's something I could do.
So I always worried about it.
So I've always worried about it.
Which is really too bad.
Which is really too bad.
That I didn't have the tools.
That I didn't have the tools.
And it meant that I had to hold back on my emotions.
And it meant that I had to hold back on my emotions.
And that's not really how I want to sing.
That's not how I want to sing.
I want to put my emotions into my singing.
I want to put my emotions into my singing.
And feel like I know how to control it.
And feel like I know how to control it.
So that I can sing and be open-hearted.
So that I can sing and be open-hearted.
I can sing and be full of love.
I can sing and be full of love.
I can sing and hold sadness.
I can sing and hold sadness.
That would be kind of amazing.
That would be kind of amazing.
I wonder if I could actually do that.
I wonder if I could actually do that.
But that would feel wonderful.
That would feel wonderful.
And it would make me feel better about having had that experience.
It would make me feel better about having that experience.
Because then I could see it more as a learning opportunity.
Then I could see it as a learning opportunity.
And the same thing maybe with the was it Allstate? I'm sorry.
It was a state contest, but it wasn't Allstate.
The same with the state contest.
Same with the state contest.
That maybe I could figure out how to sing when I'm sick.
Maybe I could figure out how to sing when I'm sick
and know that I don't have to stop singing
and know that I don't have to stop singing.
and I don't have to worry about how it will sound.
I don't have to worry about how it'll sound.
If I have some strategies, some
If I have
techniques
some strategies and techniques
that I can feel confident that I'm good to go no matter how my voice is,
that I'm confident and feel good to go no matter how my voice is,
because I know how to work with a voice that's not fully there.
because I know how to work with a voice that's not fully there.
And then I can also make a choice not to sing if I'm too sick.
And I can make a choice not to sing if I'm too sick.
I would love to forgive myself for
I would,
those things,
I would love to forgive myself for those things,
for not knowing that being sick was gonna impact my voice,
for not knowing being sick would impact my voice,
and not, like, working with my voice beforehand
and not working with my voice beforehand
or asking for help.
or asking for help.
If I knew to do these things, I would have done these things.
If I knew to do these things, I would have done more of those things.
So I'd love to let go.
So I would love to let go.
I'd love to forgive my younger self
I'd love to forgive my younger self
and tell her that she's has nothing should stop her from singing.
and to tell her that nothing should stop her from singing.
I don't want her to feel like that there's reason to mute her voice,
I don't want her to feel like there's a reason to mute her voice.
because there's only reason for her to unmute her voice.
There's only reasons for her to unmute her voice.
And all these things can be forgotten.
And all these things can be forgotten.
All of these things can be forgiven.
All these things can be forgiven.
And when I look at my younger self, I look in her eyes.
When I look at my younger self, I look in her eyes.
I want her to know how wonderful I think she is.
I want her to know how wonderful I think she is.
What else would you tell her?
That she's very talented and people
That
need to hear her.
that she's very talented and people need to hear her. What
Mhm.
else?
Mm. That it's okay if you make a mistake.
It's okay that you make a mistake. If these things happen to my how many kids do you have?
2.
2. And one of them is a singer, or both of them sing?
One of them, well, I mean, they're both really good at singing, but only one of them sings in public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if this happened to my son,
If this happened to my son,
I would want him to know that it's something he can move on from.
I would want him to know it's something he can move on from.
I would tell him, and what would you tell him?
I would tell him, don't worry about it. It's fine. Your voice is just fine.
I tell him, "Don't worry about it. It's fine and your voice is fine." What else would you tell him?
I don't know.
I love the sound of your voice.
I love the sound of your voice. Yes.
The world enjoys your voice.
The world enjoys your voice.
Not every time you sing is gonna be equally good,
Not every time you sing is equally good,
but every time you sing, I enjoy it.
but every time you sing, I enjoy it.
Whether you're at the top of the game or you're just, there's something in the way,
Whether you're at the top of the game or something's in the way,
it's always a joy for me to hear you.
it's always a joy for me to hear you.
And I know that people love getting to hear you.
And I know people love getting to hear you.
And even the top Broadway stars don't have the same game every performance.
And even top Broadway stars don't have the same performance.
Every performance is gonna be different.
Every performance is going to be different.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And it's a journey.
And it's a journey.
And overall, you're just gonna get better and better.
And overall, you're just going to get better and better.
And most important is that I want you to love to sing.
Most important is I want you to love to sing.
So don't take this as a big obstacle.
Don't take this as a big obstacle.
Don't take it even as an obstacle,
Don't see it as an obstacle,
because we all go up and down.
because we all go up and down.
And that's not what's important.
And that's not what's important.
It's fun when we have a really great performance.
It's fun when you have a really great performance.
And other performances can be fun too.
And other performances can be fun too.
even if they're not 100%.
even if they're not 100%.
Let's make room for imperfection.
Let's make room for imperfection.
Let's make room for being human.
Let's make room for being human.
Let's embrace our humanity.
Let's embrace our humanity.
It's about connecting with the music.
It's about connecting with the music.
It's about connecting with our love of music.
It's about connecting with our love of music.
And it's about allowing the audience to enjoy the music as we do.
And it's allowing the audience to enjoy the music as we do.
And thinking of performing that way feels better.
And thinking of performing that way feels better.
And it makes it easier for me to release and let go of my experiences.
And it makes it easier for me to release and let go of my experiences.
I would love to feel completely free of them.
I would love to feel completely free of them.
I would love to feel like they're just fun stories,
I would like to feel like they're just fun stories.
but they have nothing to do with my capability.
They have nothing to do with my capability.
And they don't have to interfere with my love of singing.
They don't have to interfere with my love of singing.
They don't have to interfere with my love of singing in public.
They don't have to interfere with my love of singing in public.
In fact, I'd love to test this out.
In fact, I'd love to test this out.
I would love to see how I can love singing and let people hear me.
I would love to
Test out
test out
how I love singing.
how I love singing and people hear me.
Because that's what it's about, isn't it?
Because that's what it's about, isn't it?
That I love to sing.
That I love to sing.
And I can allow other people to hear my love.
And I can allow other people to hear my love.
I would love to feel that way.
I would love to feel that way.
I'd love to feel released.
I would love to feel released.
I'd love to feel free.
I'd love to feel free.
I'd love to feel like I can take up all the space I want with my voice.
I would love to feel like I could take up all the space I want with my voice.
And that I can enjoy and trust my voice.
I can enjoy and trust my voice.
And that I can sing with my son.
And I could sing with my son.
And feel so honored
And
to
feel
do that.
so honored to do that.
And feel like, how special and cool is that?
Feel how special and cool is that?
I would love to feel that way.
I would love to feel that way.
I'd love to feel that way.
I would love to feel that way.
And I'm opening myself to feel
I'm
that way.
Opening myself to feel that way.
Okay, stretch out. Ah. Ah. And then I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine that there's this magical healing, rinsing, cleansing elixir that's raining down from the sky, and it rinses out these old experiences, any debris from them, rinses out of your body and down into the ground where it becomes water for composting. And imagine these 3 experiences are on tiny, tiny postcards drawn in black and white in pencil. And they're way in the distance. And as you notice them, they just go further and further in the distance, so distant from you. And then I invite you to gather around you your younger you, the age of the church, the high school and college. And imagine that you are inviting them to feel rinsed as well, cleared as well. And as you look among those faces, which can be, might be clear, might be vague, just kind of on an energetic level, that you squeeze, give them all a squeeze, give them all a hug. You're all in this together. And you feel the love of song, love of singing, the love in your heart. And you have a sense of appreciation and admiration and encouragement that's shared all around, back in time and from them to you. Feel how they love and appreciate and admire your voice, and they're rooting for you. to sing out. And when you're ready, bring your attention into your body. Feel the position of your limbs, your posture, the breath flowing in and out. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Okay.
What was that like? What are your takeaways from that?
Hmm. Well, I don't feel as connected to those experiences as I did before we started.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what we're after.
Okay.
That's what we're after. Now, I do want to give you some ideas to play around with
Okay.
for those strategies that I mentioned. So, I'm like you. I felt like, "Oh my god," like, I performed for 40 years with a women's world music group, and sometimes we were asked to sing at weddings or
Mhm.
at eulogies, at funerals,
Sure.
memorial services, and as you listen, even if I didn't know a person, as I listened to their life, and then we'd sing this song that it just felt very emotional.
Mhm.
And I felt like you, it's like my throat would close up. And I managed to like cut myself off from the emotions. Like I had to be very focused. And that is a strategy to just stay very focused. But when I was working with one of my voice teachers in this Estel vocal method, she talked about, because I said to her, "How come some people can sing with tears coming down their face? And for me, I just like have ugly cry and I get all squinched up and all contracted." And she said, "There's a way of like widening your throat
Okay.
and staying in a very like open throated place and just letting the sound move through you." And I think there is for me, when I think of it now, it's kind of like a combination of things. It's like I am here to provide the music so the audience can have their emotion
Mhm.
first and foremost. So even though I am touched by it, I don't succumb to it.
Okay.
And when in the since the time that she told me about that, I tried that. She kind of like used her thumbs and she'd say, like, open your throats to widen your throat.
Uh-huh.
And I like when you take a inhale, you kind of feel like the space
Mhm.
widening, and you might play around with that and just see how
Okay, I
that
will.
works for
I
you.
will. Mhm.
And then in terms of when we're sick, a lot of times there's irritation. And one of the things that has helped me hugely, and I've heard other people using this too, is to go into a high hum.
Oh.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm,
Mhm.
mm, and just like find that real ease of your sound. Now, of course, depending on the style that you're singing, like if you're belting, probably that's going to be way, way harder. However, I think you can, I mean, we've got YouTube now, like Google how to sing when you're sick and see
Okay.
what comes up. But
Mhm.
I think that for me, because of the style that I was singing different styles, but it wasn't usual. Well, I was gonna say it wasn't full voice. Sometimes it was, because in world music, like Bulgarian
Mhm.
music is very, out front. Some of
Sure.
the music is very strong, but a lot of it was also very had a thinner sound. But if
Mhm.
we stay with those, like, little meows, like
Yeah.
little kitty sounds, that's very, very rejuvenating for the vocal cords.
Okay.
And if you spend, I don't know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes doing that kind of thing and then doing sirens, but the
Mhm.
point is that we need to find what is our voice capable of,
Mhm.
and how can we balance where we are in a physical way with the songs we need to sing. So definitely, I mean, always warm up your voice. I don't know how it was in school,
So
if
we
they
did a lot of warming up, yeah. I had
Mhm.
a very, very good music teacher.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. And possibly if you had, thought, I don't know, maybe went up to her and said, "Hey, I'm sick. What do I do?"
Oh, no, she tried to help me, and we both thought, "We can do it." And
Oh,
it
so
didn't.
you just thought, "Okay, let's give it a go." And
Let's
so
give it a go.
what do you think happened?
I think my nerves got the best of me, and I was just got really fearful that it wasn't going to work.
Okay, so it was just like just feeling the anxiety. So again, that's where we have to be staunch supporters of ourselves
Right? Mhm.
because it's not helping. Like we're always mentally rehearsing. If we're saying, "Oh no, this is going to go wrong. This isn't going to work," that's where it's going to go.
Mhm. Yeah. And as a kid, I was just very insecure. Yeah.
Right, for any number of reasons,
Any number of
yes.
reasons, right.
Right, right.
Mhm.
So it's possible that there are other things, like, in the background that may be worthy of clearing away, but
Mhm.
hopefully this will have gotten, to some of the main concerns that you
Oh,
have in terms of,
amazing.
making mistakes, and we'll see what happens with the singing thing. I don't know,
Okay.
you'll have to let
I
us.
will let you know. Yeah.
Yes, definitely, like, swing back and, I mean, truthfully, I think if I were you, I would tell your son, "I really wanna do this
Mhm.
at some point," and make a plan for what it would take. Or, just say, "Let's plan on doing it, and I would like to be able to make a decision full further on how comfortable, but let's go ahead as if."
Okay.
And the other thing that I think is worthwhile is to think of not doing something once, but doing something several times. So if there's a lower stakes that you can do it,
Mhm.
and then kind of increase the stakes, kind of like exposure therapy before
Right.
you go out, that would probably help too.
It would. It would, I agree. Okay, this is great. I appreciate this so much. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So how are you feeling overall?
I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. So I'm excited to see how this carries over into just speaking in general.
Mhm. And
How
when is the next time you get an opportunity to speak?
I will be speaking in front of a lot of women next week in Pakistan
Online or in person?
in person.
No kidding.
Yes. So it's, I mean, a lot of factors in there. So whole
Yes.
different country and speaking with an interpreter and those kind of things too. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes. So I want to encourage you to, before you get on stage or into the experience, that you open up your body, do
Mhm.
something physical, and do vocal warm-ups as well, do some singing
Okay.
warm-ups,
Hmm.
because you want, as our speaking voices are our speaking instrument,
Right.
and
Right.
so we wanna feel like we have the resonance there, we wanna have the
Hmm.
volume, we wanna have our expression, you wanna feel like when you open your mouth, you know it's gonna come out.
Come out. Right. Great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, you're welcome. So let's circle back and see how it goes and have a blast.
Thank you. I will.